Here we are at what we call the Pillars of Ballintemple. This is a part of Ballintemple Nursery. It's land owned and operated by the State Nursery Quiltshire. They operate about 800 acres around here. These pillars are a relic of a bygone era, like slavery. The house is gone, but slavery still exists, just as you good people understand it, bondage. Slavery is not open in Western communities, though it's there. Often children, predominantly female, are enslaved in the dark corners of our society, but we won't talk about that. You can learn about that from Dave Batstone's Not for Sale work. And there also exists the open, explicit slavery in more traditional cultures. Those traditional cultures include a majority of the human population. How did we get slavery? After all, in the beginning, we only knew our own families. There was no slavery, no need for slavery. In fact, we needed each other to collaborate, to survive, to prosper. So how did we get slavery? Perhaps it started when families had grown to clans, and clans bumped into each other at the edge of their habitats, and they feared one another. Slavery is a symptom of the deepest fear, a fear of the unknown, a fear of something that you don't understand, a fear of something you see as a threat to your survival because it looks a bit like you and might have similar acquisitive intentions. I am dangerous, so that unknown thing that looks a lot like me is probably dangerous. Fight or flight. Fight and flight are both instinctive, unconscious choices. Take a breath, think a moment, maybe other options will pop up. Because humans' advantage is that we can think, because we have a prefrontal cortex that can engage with the hormonal hindbrain and make conscious choices instead of primitive, instinctive ones. The conscious mind can still choose fight or flight, but if you think, instead of a knee-jerk response, you'll choose from more options in a self-critical analysis that involves far more information, including past experiences, and it gets better results. Although other animals think, hominids, especially Homo sapiens, has an order of magnitude higher capacity for complex thinking. That's shown in humans' metacognition, or thinking about thinking. The sophisticated thinking ability differentiates hominids from other life as we know it. Metacognition is higher capacity for imagination, creativity, problem solving, and communication. These capacities are clearly exhibited in us all as we self-develop our own language. My language is Tom. The language Tom is very close to the common code or language called English. That English enables me to share ideas with others whose language is also very similar to the common code called English, thereby accelerating collaboration, collaboration being what helps us survive and prosper. The specifics of our mouths, voice box, larynx also enable us to create a far wider variety of sounds than other primates, so we can make lots of words. That's what we call speech, which is how we share ideas. Each word is an idea. It's mentalese. That's our common language. Language is for thinking. Sometimes it's used for communication. Our capacity for metacognition and communication, for thought, self-knowledge, self-respect and self-control, allow humans phenomenal capacities which we are only beginning to learn to use. These include capacities for self-transformation, altruism and more. So, why am I standing here in front of these pillars, talking about consciousness, communication and altruism? Because we seem to be stuck in the past, and our behavior is killing the planet, life and humanity, and it's my fault. Why? Because I haven't done enough to eliminate the ignorance of slavery and racism in my communities. George Floyd and many others have died because of ignorance nurtured by my ancestors that persists today. These pillars are the remains of a grand estate that once stretched to 10,000 acres. That's a lot. It's more than one family can maintain. In fact, it needs a lot of labour, even thousands of people to help make it work. I think the house was built in the first part of the 1800s and comprised over 20 rooms. That was the portico. Carriage would drive in, front doors just where I was standing. Downstairs were accommodations for the housekeeper and the butler. Upstairs were the living rooms. I think there were 3 stories. It's not a small pad. That house was huge. So, who owned this house, I wonder? My forebears. It burned down in 1917, when it was probably less than 100 years old. By then, the estate had shrunk to about 1,000 acres. And since, it's been liquidated through land distribution and foolish behaviour, until my dad finally rescued it about 50 years ago from the auctioneer's hammer. Thanks, Dad. A couple of centuries ago, another scion of this family, born at their previous house before they lived here, was a founding father of America, a signer of the Constitution. He was infamous for promoting the Electoral College, which has confounded the popular vote in 2 elections in America in the last couple of decades. Another scion is infamous for the largest auction of slaves in America. Yes, we are former slave owners. And I believe that the superior mentality was nurtured by my ancestors and me, even in my lifetime, just as racism has been nurtured in America, including by me and my relations. Recently, I learned a shocking hidden fact about the Southern Confederate mindset. It is founded on the lie that white supremacy. The so-called cornerstone speech given by the Vice President of the Confederacy prior to them attacking Fort Sumter said, "Our new government's foundations are laid. Its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man." What a self-serving lie. It has persisted and been allowed to be promoted in America and among tourists inspired by the Dukes of Hazzard and others. The Confederacy is adulated by ignorance. The ignorance was invented and spread by my ancestors 200 years ago, and before that, and since. I confess my weakness. I've been racist and misogynist and bigoted. I've told bigoted jokes and said things that are hurtful to people outwardly different from me. I've used force to control other people. I want to stop. I'm not racist in my heart. In my heart, I love people. All people. I am sorry. I'm happy to have escaped the suffocating culture that requires bigotry, whether that is racism, sexism, intellectualism, religion, or any other ism that doesn't see the universe as one. I'm sorry because once I advocated the kind of command and control approach to life that I was taught at business school. Lead the charge. If you can't keep up, tough. It's very militant, isn't it? It's a mindset that doesn't think. In fact, that power-tripping mindset doesn't even see or hear what's going on around. It's so intent on itself that it can't hear the cries of pain around it and can't see the pools of blood it wades in. I always had empathy. That saved me. It got me off killing animals. I've been a veggie for a quarter century. I realized one day that I didn't enjoy the butchery, which I'd been exposed to having tried a bit of hunting and fishing. So I stopped killing animals by stopping eating meat. But yesterday, I was reminded of our ignorance of the pain of animals when my neighbour was dipping his flock. For 3 hours, the clamour of cries from ewes and lambs was heard across the valley. If we recognise those as cries of pain and anguish, which they are, at least we'd be aware of what we're doing. If we recognise that herding women and children would also bring cries of pain and anguish, we'd understand what we are doing. No one wants to hurt the sheep. We fear the consequence of admitting that we do not want to hurt the sheep or cow or person. If I don't kill the lamb, what will I eat? Or if I'm a farmer that must send the animals to the slaughter, at least how will I pay the grocery bill if I don't send the animal to the butcher? Of course, there are ways, if we would only think. I haven't died for 25 years yet. Then to human relations and how we behave when we meet strangers and our outlook is nurtured by fear. If I don't beat the person, will they beat me? Or even, if I don't beat the person, will my friends tease me or ostracize me? We all remember that from school, from the office, from the workplace, from the factory floor, from the canteen. Some of us have been trained in our ignorance by repeating the cornerstone speech, for example. Others are angry because we feel that we don't have enough. Others have control and power, and we want more than enough. Stepping back from the fray, it's clear that we can do much better. We can hate less and love more. We can grab less and share more. We can lie less and question more. I regret not having done more to make the world a better place. I regret not having faced myself and challenged myself to do the right thing, the right way. I'm sorry that I helped kill George Floyd. I'm trying to do better. Say his name, George Floyd. Say his name, George Floyd! George Floyd! Say his name and look at yourself in the mirror.